Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're here with Gemini today, who is molting a little bit, and she's also pregnant. So, you know, things happen. So she's molting, and Tequila's getting in the way. Tequila, get out of the way. So I had a few questions about what to look for if your rabbit is unwell. So signs of pain or illness. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. Yes, she's shedding like crazy. It's fall molt time. That's what happens. That's normal, by the way. That's not a sign of illness. Tequila, get out of the way. Come on, get out of the way. You are in the way. So molting is not a sign of illness if it's in the spring or fall. This is really, really normal. Gem, come back here. So this is really, really normal, okay? This is not illness. It's, they shed in the spring and the fall. And Holland lops actually shed quite a bit. So this is normal. You get hair. That's normal. Okay? So actual signs of pain and illness. I'm going to kind of give you a list. And it's important to note that one sign isn't necessarily a sign of illness. So if your rabbit is doing one thing, they might just be in a mood. But if you have more than one thing on this list, or some things are actually quite serious, but if you have more than one thing on this list happening, you definitely want to take note. Like if you have out of season molting and you have teeth grinding, something's wrong. But if you just have molting, they're just molting. It's not really that big deal. So, other signs. If your rabbit doesn't want food or water, that can just mean they're not hungry right now, which is entirely possible. They're just plain not hungry right now. But it could also mean they're going into stasis and they're not going to eat. So watch them carefully, see if they eat or drink. Eating slower or dropping food. Eating slower is debatable. They may be just not as hungry right now. But if they're actually dropping food, so they're eating the food but it's falling out of their mouth as they're eating, they may have an abscess of some kind or some kind of dental problem. So definitely get that checked out. Teeth grinding. So if they're perpetually teeth grinding, I'm not talking about when they're angry. She's a really temperamental rabbit. So occasionally she'll be like grinding her teeth like crazy and she's just angry. But if you have persistent teeth grinding and there's no reason for it, so I did not give her banana. If she sees a banana and I don't give her any, she's going to grind her teeth in anger. But if she's doing that persistently and there's no actual thing I did to make her that angry, then that's definitely a sign of pain and she needs to be checked out. Extreme weight loss. Okay, so weight will fluctuate a little bit. Okay, so she's a little on the chunkier side right now because she's carrying some babies. And she's also molting, so she's looking weird anyway. But if you have sudden weight loss that has no explanation and it's a lot, so not just fluctuating season to season, so she's chubbier in the winter than she is in the summer, that's normal. If you have a rabbit where it's not that, okay, it's not a little variation, it's extreme weight loss, go to the vet right now. There's something wrong. If you have a rabbit that's really, really sweet and all of a sudden she's really aggressive. So Gemini's not that sweet, to be honest. She's a good rabbit, but she's not super sweet. Okay? Not super sweet, but I love her. So she's also not aggressive, though. So it's important to know your rabbit. So she's not an aggressive rabbit. She's just not the sweetest. She's not, like, she doesn't bite. If she was lunging at me and trying to chomp me, something's wrong. A sudden aggressive behavior in a rabbit that is not normally aggressive, there is something wrong. Probably something hurts. Okay, that's normally what it is. Something is painful to the touch. So figure out what's painful, and there's a good chance you're going to have to go to the vet. If you are picking up your rabbits every day, which you should be, and you notice that their butt has a lot of poop stuck to it, there's a problem. Rabbits are really clean animals. They do not have problems with poopy butts. If your rabbit has a poopy butt, something is wrong. Okay? For me, that would be an immediate vet visit. I would be calling my vet and going, hey, she's got poop stuck to her bum. A poopy butt, not a good sign in rabbits. If they're kind of sitting weird, so they might be leaning back, they might be hunched over, just sitting in a way that your rabbit doesn't normally sit, that normally indicates some kind of discomfort. Watch them closely. Um, Discomfort could simply be, I hurt my leg yesterday because I was being an idiot and bouncing off the wall. So, okay, that's fine. Doesn't need a vet visit. It'll go away on its own. But it could also mean my gut is all twisted and I'm going into GI stasis, and if I don't see a vet right now, I'm going to die. So, pay attention to if they're acting a little bit odd, sitting in a way they wouldn't normally sit. Okay? You also might want to pay attention to if they're a little bit lethargic. So a little bit lethargic every once in a while could just mean they're tired. But if your rabbit is suddenly consistently lethargic, they're acting kind of depressed, they don't want to move around a lot, they're sleeping all the time, even during times when they might normally be active, there's definitely something wrong. Okay, definitely something wrong. So pay attention for symptoms like that. If your rabbit's lethargic, I would recommend seeing a vet. I know I say that a lot, but unless you are a vet, there's a lot you're simply not going to notice, simply because they're a prey animal. They hide illness and pain really well. So if they're lethargic because they're sick or hurting, you may not be able to figure out why on your own. You may actually need the expertise of a good vet who knows rabbits. So either an exotic vet or a farm vet, depending on your area. So the other thing you want to watch for is soft poops and diarrhea. Diarrhea will kill a rabbit overnight. So if they have diarrhea, you need to go to the vet. Okay, they need to get on fluids so they don't dehydrate. They need to find out why the heck your rabbit has diarrhea. It's not common in rabbits. Okay, it is not. It is not like a dog who ate something weird and now they have diarrhea for a couple of days, which happens to Whiskey all the time because he's always eating weird things. Usually it means he ate a plastic toy. But it's not like dogs. If you have diarrhea in a rabbit, it'll kill them fast. So definitely get them to the vet. If your rabbit is limping, they hurt their leg. Okay, so give it a check. So you want to, if she was limping, I would grab her leg, give it a really good exam here, and make sure she's getting mad at me now, but make sure she's able to move it, make sure nothing's broken. If there's a limp and it's just because they sprained an ankle, well, I don't go to the doctor over a sprained ankle. A rabbit doesn't need to go to the doctor over a sprained ankle. A broken bone, yes. So check out all limps really quick. Head tilting is a dicey one because head tilting could mean they have some kind of loss of balance, which could be neurological or even an ear infection, but it could also just be they're tilting their head at you. So if your rabbit is tilting their head and they typically don't do that very often, then you want to check that out. If it's persistent and it doesn't go away within about a day, you want to go to the vet. Okay, so it's not necessarily an urgent thing that you definitely need to look after now, but if they're kind of cocking their head and they've never done that before, there could be an issue. Runny eyes or a runny nose, that is probably an infection. You may need antibiotics. Definitely get to your vet. You may not see a runny nose or eyes, so what you want to do is, hi sweetie, take their front feet and kind of look here where they would clean their face. Move your ear. But this area on the inside of their front paws where they clean their face, take a look at that spot. If there's kind of caked on fur, like kind of dried cakey fur on the inside of their feet, then they actually might have a runny nose or runny eyes, and you wouldn't know because they're really clean animals. So if she had runny eyes, she probably would have cleaned it up. I spend so much time with her, I would notice, but if you have rabbits that are outside and it's winter and you're not outside all the time, you may not notice. So a good thing to check for weekly is just on the inside of their feet. I feel like ear. On the inside of their feet, just look for dried, caked fur. So something that might indicate they have been wiping at some kind of discharge from their eyes or nose. And that is a vet visit because antibiotics are not something, even if you have them on hand, you don't really know which antibiotic unless the vet checks it out. Hi, sweetie. All right. If your rabbit has rapid or labored breathing, yeah, that's a vet visit. unless that rapid or labored breathing is specifically because, like, they got scared. So let's say there was a fox near your pen. Okay, a little bit of rapid labored breathing is to be expected for a little while because that was freaky. But absent a reason to be terrified, labored breathing or rapid breathing is not normal. Okay? Not normal. So you want to call the vet. If they have a respiratory problem, you can't treat that at home. Yeah, there are things you can do. So you might use, for example, a rescue remedy that keeps them breathing a little bit better before you can get to the vet, but eventually you're still going to need a vet. Their mouth. If you have, your rabbit has a wet mouth or a wet chin. So if you look under their chin, they can get mad, huh? You look under their chin and they're all wet and they're wet around their mouth. And that's not just from drinking water. If it's always like that, then they probably have some kind of dental problem. Likely an abscess, because rabbits do tend to get abscesses. Not lots. I think I've only had, in all the years I've been raising rabbits, 2 rabbits with dental abscesses. But it is one of the more common health issues with rabbits. So if you have wetness around the mouth or on the chin and it's not because they've been drinking water, then that is likely an abscess and that will require a vet visit. Grunting or whining when being handled, if it's not normal for them. So we have a couple of rabbits that hate being handled and they will grunt at you or whine or bite you or thump their feet, not foots, feet, 2 feet. So they'll thump their feet at you if you try and pick them up because they just don't like being handled. So that's normal for them. But it's not normal for her, for example. So if I went to pick her up and she all of a sudden was grunting at me or whining, then something's hurting. So if it's not normal for your rabbit, something's hurting. Investigate. Figure out why. It could simply be a scratch on a leg or something like that. And that you can usually treat at home. I don't go to the doctor for every little cut. I don't take my rabbit to the vet for every little cut. So I would just treat the cut. If it got infected, then we'd go to the vet. So physical discomfort, investigate the reason, and kind of just figure out if you can treat it at home or if you need to go to the vet for that. Every day, look in your rabbit's eyes. Now, she's going to close her eyes so we can't see because she's bum. But if you look in their eyes and they're dull, I mean, you know what your rabbit's eyes look like. Bright and happy and shiny and active. If they're not like that, then there's an issue. A rabbit that has dull eyes when usually they're bright and happy, something is very, very wrong. Okay? I would take my rabbit to the vet if I looked at her in the morning and she didn't have her normal bright and sparkly eyes. She has quite bright and sparkly eyes, and if she didn't, we'd have a problem and I'd be quite worried. So, yes, get yourself to the vet in that case. Now, I just went through a lot of things where my suggestion is take them to the vet. Can you treat things at home? Yes and no. So, treat it like your child. So, I wouldn't take my child to the doctor because he skinned his knee, right? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take myself to the doctor for a skinned knee. You don't need to go to the doctor over every skinned knee. I wouldn't take my rabbit to the vet over she ripped a nail. If she ripped a nail and it started to bleed, I think I had a video where Capricorn had a bleeding nail. I would not take them to the vet for that. I would just use a little bit of flour to stop the bleeding and make sure they were okay, make sure they didn't get an infection, and move on with my day. I do not take them to the vet over every little thing, okay? If they have a dirty ear, I clean the ear and I watch for signs of infection or signs of ear mites. I don't immediately run to the vet. So kind of treat it like you would if they were a person. Would you go to the vet if your rabbit was a child instead of a rabbit? If the answer is no, probably not, I'd probably deal with it at home, then you're probably fine to attempt to deal with it at home and go to the vet if it gets worse. So there's a lot of things we treat at home. Okay, a lot of things, because we don't need to go to the vet every time somebody gets in a little scuffle and has a little cut on their nose. But if it's an actual sign of real illness, rabbits can go from looking fine to being dead really fast. Okay, it's crazy fast. So it is my recommendation that if you notice something wrong and you don't know why something is wrong, or you do know why and you don't have the capacity to treat it at home, get yourself to the vet. Are vets for rabbits expensive? Yeah, kind of. But it is better to go to the vet than to lose your rabbits to something that could have been prevented with a little bit of medication. Okay? Actual rabbit medicine is still kind of in its infancy. It's not where I would like it to be. There's not a lot of vets who really truly specialize in rabbits. Okay, you have exotic animal vets and they deal with rabbits, but a lot of times they don't specifically deal with rabbits. They just treat them. So there's not a lot of experts in the rabbit field, so a lot of times it's hit or miss and you do your best. Not the vet we use now, but a vet I had taken a rescue rabbit to, prescribed the wrong medication. It was the right medication if it would have been a cat, but in a rabbit, it simply wasn't good. And the rabbit unfortunately passed away. So things like that happen. I don't use that vet now. The vet I have now, he's a farm vet and he's fantastic with rabbits. With really all of our farm animals, he's really, really good. But it happens. Sometimes things just, they don't go well because rabbit medicine is not a common thing. Even if you live in an area where there's a lot of rabbits, you're not going to have a ton of vets that know a lot about them. So sometimes even with a vet's care, things do not go well. But you do the best you can. And sometimes you will absolutely miss all of the signs because rabbits are so good at hiding them. So sometimes you'll have a rabbit that you swear yesterday was healthy and they're fairly young, so it's not old age and they didn't get scared, so it wasn't a heart attack, but you go out the next morning and they've died. And in hindsight, maybe you had noticed a thing or two, but they weren't urgent enough. Would you just stop pulling the blanket? But they weren't urgent enough for you to run to the vet or for you to be really concerned. It happens. Don't beat yourself up over it because I'm telling you, rabbits are really good at hiding it. So if something happens and your rabbit passes away, and there's probably not much you could have done unless you deliberately ignored signs of illness where you should have taken her to the vet. Okay, that's the only time you should beat yourself up over it, is if you didn't call the vet and you knew there was something wrong. But, we can't call the vet every time our rabbit jumps weird. They're rabbits. They're just weird by nature. Yeah, you're weird. So, more hair. Yeah, she's molting. She's molting. It's fall. She does spring molt and a fall molt. Be prepared for that. Hair is everywhere if you have your rabbits in the house. Be prepared. But, yeah. So, things happen. And you can't always do anything about the things happening. But do your best. If you do notice signs of illness or pain, please get to your vet. I'm not one for jumping onto rabbit groups and asking what can I do at home. Most of the things that'll actually go wrong with your rabbit are serious. Rabbits tend not to have a lot of little ailments, right? They don't have little things where they kind of are a little bit under the weather. They're either fine or they're dying. Like, rabbits are just like that. So, if you have a serious problem, please let the professionals deal with it. Call your vet. So that is really it for today's video. I am not going to go into a lot of detail on specific illnesses and ailments because, again, my recommendation is 9 times out of 10, go to the vet. They know what they're doing. Unless you are a vet, then you already know what you're doing and you don't need to watch a video about what to do. So I'm not going to do a bunch of videos on different illnesses. I might do one here and there on things that you can treat at home. I will not do videos on things that need the vet's care because things that need a vet's care you should really be dealing with at the vet. So with that said, that is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. I hope your rabbits are doing well. Mine certainly are. We'll see you tomorrow.